We will have a live report.
Stealth bombers left Texas in the pre-dawn hours. Meanwhile, U.S. officials are still assessing how much damage has already been done. In a briefing, Defense Secretary William Cohen said the massive joint U.S.-British firepower in the Gulf in the aerial attack early yesterday off the coast of southern Iraq. The forces are bolstered with 15 B-52 heavy bombers.
Locally, meanwhile, troops are on the move. In Delaware, about 100 Dover Air Force Base personnel are en route to the Persian Gulf. They'll apparently be overseeing the transport operations of 20 air crews and equipment. The toughest challenge reportedly will be the 12-hour work shifts they'll be facing in the Gulf. Now, meantime, Jersey correspondent Nora Mushanek's live at McGuire Air Base, where problems delayed a group of servicemen and women trying to get to the Gulf. Nora, what happened?
Well, we had a little bit of a plane problem, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, Mark. But so far, about 120 of McGuire's 821st Air Mobility Squadron have been deployed. Now, as you said, some of them are still waiting because of mechanical problems, but others have been deployed and are in the air at this moment on their way to the Persian Gulf.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
This was the scene on the chilly flight line at McGuire Air Force Base this afternoon as 70 members of the Tanker Airlift Control Element boarded a huge C-5 Galaxy headed for the Persian Gulf.
I feel we should go ahead and finish what we need to do and finish blowing him up, or blowing whatever we have to blow up and be done so we don't have to deal with this every Christmas.
I kind of knew it was coming when the UN inspectors were pulling out, so I've seen it before, so I was packed and ready to go.
But leaving now means leaving loved ones at the holidays, and that's tough for everyone.
And I hope my dad comes back before Christmas.
I don't know about that.
It's just a tough time, you want to be with your family. It's a tough time to have them to go.
Tears were flowing from my wife this morning. Wasn't good.
Christmas is going to be a tough one this year.
Yes, it will.
But with the trucks and computers and other equipment, they'll need to set up a mini airport in the Gulf. These airmen and women say despite the danger, they are looking forward to the adventure.
There's a little bit of nervousness, but I'm very anxious. I'm excited because this is why I joined the military.
Now, those 50 troops that were to have left at 3 this morning are still on the ground here at McGuire. Mechanical problems with their plane has kept them from being deployed, but they do hope to leave sometime this evening. We don't have an exact time on that yet. I'm Nora Mushanek reporting live in the action cam from McGuire Air Force Base.
Thanks, Nora. That's our coverage.
First of all, a plane full of airmen did leave this afternoon. Others are still waiting for a flight, and it looks now like more people from McGuire Air Force Base will be deploying during the next week. About 70 members of the 821st Air Mobility Squad boarded a big C-5 Galaxy at McGuire this afternoon. You might call this group the lucky ones. That's because they were able to fly out just hours after their arrival. 50 more from this squadron, the same folks who were supposed to deploy this morning at 3 a.m., spent all night and all day just waiting because maintenance problems with their plane delayed departure.
When we find a problem with the plane will not take off unless that situation is dealt with.
That left more time for some of the airmen, like Pete Webster, to steal a few extra moments with their families.
It is pretty tough, but we'll manage. We'll have Christmas when we come home, so.
What'd you tell your daughter?
That I love her, and I'll see her when I get home.
These airmen say they're trying to focus on the situation in Iraq despite the impeachment process going on in Washington.
We've got two high-profile events happening in the nation right now. Our job is to obey the orders of the President of the United States, regardless of what the situation is.
There's always butterflies in the stomach about going into a situation you don't know, but I'm just anxious to get over there, get the job done, and come back home.
Also at McGuire today, members of the 714th Aeromedical Evacuation Squadron began preparing for deployment.
We're trained to care for the sick and injured, and if the troops need us, we're ready to go.
These medical specialists help transport the wounded from the battlefield. They'll be leaving before Christmas, but haven't been notified of their exact departure date. And Jim, the latest information we have is that those 50 airmen who've been waiting to deploy since last night are out on the tarmac, loading on the plane now, and should be taking off at any moment. I'm Nora Mushanek reporting live in the action cam from McGuire Air Force Base.
Thank you, Nora. Now, about 100
of 2 days. It's a game of hurry up and wait. But finally tonight, as we speak, 120 airmen from here at McGuire Air Force Base are indeed on their way to the Persian Gulf.
Hurry up and wait. It's a way of life for military personnel.
Some airmen here at McGuire Air Force Base had expected to leave Thursday night or early Friday morning for the Persian Gulf. Instead, they waited until late today. One group left in the afternoon, another left shortly after sunset. The wait gave them more time to think about the considerable task which awaits them.
Say hey to me. I know what the facilities are like. I know what the ramp is like. I know what our aircraft capacity is. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be hard work.
The sudden deployment puts an understandable strain on loved ones, most of whom have had their fill of Saddam.
We've been doing this for 9 years, and it's just 9 years too long. We're ready for some closure. We really are.
But military families learn to cope. They improvise.
We had some advice from some friends that have done this a lot, and they said it really, really stinks to have the day after Christmas to have his gift still sitting under the tree. So we went ahead and gave them to him last night so the kids could watch and then share Christmas with him.
So it's Christmas in the Persian Gulf. And just to recap, a tanker airlift control element is essentially a portable Air Force base. These men will hit the ground running inside of 24 hours and set up that portable Air Force base in support of Operation Desert Fox. Live at McGuire Air Force Base, George Mallet, Fox News. Back to you.
All right, George, thanks. Stay with Fox News for continuing coverage
of the border and what Saddam and his regime is going to do, and see how they react to the airstrikes or the stoppage of the strikes.
Round again, let's get on it, let's go.
The troops who were deployed in the last 3 days will remain on patrol, carrying on their work through the cold desert nights. So too the British and US pilots who will continue flying missions over Iraq. These part of a United Nations reconnaissance operation which has been in place for more than 5 years.
Regardless of what Iraq does, we're going to be here to make sure that they do follow through on the restrictions and the resolutions that the UN has passed.
Also still in place is Operation Intrinsic Action, an ongoing exercise involving Kuwaiti and allied forces that keeps US troops and their military hardware in the country on a permanent basis.
Air Force Daddy.
I feel wonderful. It's the best Christmas present we could ask for.
I'm just happy to be home. I go home and get a shower and say hi to my kids. See what I've missed over the last couple of weeks, huh? Yeah.
And the children can't get Daddy home fast enough.
Ooh, your nose is cold.
James and Diana Messersmith have never spent a Christmas apart, but were prepared for it once he was sent to the Gulf. He says those kinds of sacrifices are a way of life in the military.
It's part of the freedom deal. You got to pay for freedom. Freedom isn't free. I'm lucky enough to have a wife that supports me in everything I do, so a few more years left and I'm retiring and I'll be good to go.
Diana says he's a hero.
Very proud, extremely proud, and happy that he's home.
For the families of all these troops, Christmas came early this year. They received a most precious gift, loved ones home for the holidays. Amy Caples, KYW3 Eyewitness News.
And from that moment of warmth, we go to the man who brought us all the ice and snow and happiness.